All right, Army UTSA. We've got the Roadrunners here, 9.5, 10-point home favorites, 46 being the total in this game. It's really a tough for me to formulate an opinion early in the season with UTSA. I mean, it was an interception, mistake-plagued loss that they had against Houston in their first game, 17-14. Maybe one of the worst games I've ever seen Frank Harris play at quarterback. It's almost like he gift wrapped that victory for the Cougars with 3 interceptions back to back in the third quarter. And then against Texas State last week, they played well enough to win the game, certainly. And the run defense, did not allow much of anything against Texas State. And Finley actually was a very good defensive effort from Jeff Traylor's team. But again, the offense is, something's missing so far. And I know certainly when you look at the way things have gone, there was definitely some issues with the receiving group after Cephas, who was going to step up for the Roadrunners this year. And, of course, DeCorian Clark didn't play once again versus Texas State. And that's someone that, they're definitely concerned about, having him on the field moving forward. So when you look at this matchup here with Army, can UTSA move the football? That's going to be the interesting question. You look at Army here in the first 2 weeks. What I know about Army's offense is I think it's a work in progress. You can't really take much away from Delaware State. Delaware State, not only an FCS team, but not a very strong FCS team. And Army was able to basically move the ball at will against them 57-0 in that game. But when they played an FBS opponent in their first game, taking on UL Monroe, Monroe wins outright, as an 8.5-point underdog, 17-13. And Army didn't score an offensive touchdown in that game. Their only touchdown was a defensive score against UL Monroe. So that's not what I want to see here. This definitely has that feel of, you've seen UTSA's offense kind of scuffle here first 2 weeks. Army's not a team I'm looking to bet an over with right now. That is for sure, given what I saw from the Army offense in their one game against an FBS foe. And it's not even an ULM with not trying to disrespect ULM, but that's like a bottom portion of the Sun Belt team. UL Monroe, and Army couldn't get the offense going, did not score a touchdown offensively, like I said, against UL Monroe in that game. So not really fond of what I've seen from the UTSA. I expected big things from UTSA offense, and I just haven't seen it really through the first 2 games. And of course, not to mention, worth noting, the Army ULM game obviously stays under the total, only 30 points in that game, and UTSA 2 unders to begin the season and not close. I mean, 59 was the total against Houston, 31 points in that game. 65.5 was the total in the Texas State game, and it only ends up with 33 points. So under or nothing for me here. Sidewise, Army is always a better profile as a dog.
Yes,
I lean that way, but man, if they fall behind, I don't think they're a come from behind offense. But are they going to fall behind in this game, given what we've seen from what's been a very disappointing offense from the Roadrunners to start the season? So mild leans, likely not playing the game, but mild leans to Army and under for me. What do you think here, Conor?
This is one that just because how good they've been as a dog, it's a little bit tempting with Army, but I like to have over 2 touchdowns with them. And you mentioned their favorite, and they lose to Monroe because they've been good going back to last year. Team was a little different. They were scoring a little more in that Babeno, but they've been, until that loss, which they were favorite most of these games, some of them as dogs, they cover the number. The last 8, they're 7-1 back to last year. And UTSA, where has the offense gone? I guess you got to give it up a little bit for the defense. I thought they'd be able to, on that Texas State defense that I think's okay, I thought they'd at least get in the 30s.
Yeah, that's alarming.
Yeah, it is. So I got to give credit to the defense. Hopefully Frank Harris, he's been there. He'll get clicking more with Cephas and these guys. Right now, I don't know how you want to feel good laying points with UTSA until they see it. I mean, they are at home in this one. And to show for these games with these 2 teams right now, it'd be the under, lean on the total too, until they start getting up and down in this one. And what do we get from Daly here? The quarterback from Army. Obviously they beat up on Delaware State, but can he even move the ball here? I'm not so sure. So I agree with you. I wish it was a little bit bigger with Army, but on the total, yeah, I'm definitely leaning under.
Yeah. So, like I said, lean Army and under. The thing that concerns me about Army is if you're going to say something really, really strong about UTSA through 2 games, it's the run defense. Houston couldn't run the football against them, and neither could Texas State. I mean, there was no run game to speak of for either of those 2 teams against UTSA. Houston had 38 rushes for 101 yards on the ground against UTSA. And then we saw, obviously, Texas State have 0 run game. I mean, the numbers are ugly. I mean, 29 carries, 31 rushing yards, 29 carries. What the hell is that? Like 1.1 yards per carry or something like that? I mean, that's
Man.
absolutely terrible. No run game. And if Army can't run the football, you worry about what they're going to be able to do offensively here in this game. So that's a matchup I'd be worried about if I'm Army here against a run defense that's been pretty good so far this season.